keep working after lunch. I'd still like to invite you to do something very important that we are going to do now, definitely. We have a nice selection of panelists. I'd like to invite Petro Korzhevsky. I think everyone knows him. He's been in the VET for 16 years. In due time, he was deputy chair of the VET department in Rivne Oblast. Then he was deputy minister, who was the first to implement the project we are celebrating now, who was involved in the selection of pilot region. And now he's the chair of the department at the Rivne Civil and Military Administration. Big welcome and applause to Petro. Come over here, Petro. The second panelist, Lyudmila Komissarova, Deputy Director of the Department for Education and Science of the Mykolaiv administration. She was in charge of the education process throughout the immediate shelling threat, and she worked really 24/7 without leaving the area. She was witnessing Mykolaiv developments and making everything to have education develop. Next is Oleg Paska, Director of the Science and Education Department at Lviv Oblast Administration. The oblast is known for its beautiful and innovative decisions, and one of the best in the country, I think. I'm sure of that because I'm working there as well. Not to the detriment of other regions, guys. And we have Victoria Baluta with us, junior advisor at our project, actually, EU4Skills, Better Skills for Modern Ukraine. Welcome, Victoria. Being a mathematician myself, I suggest we fiddle with our arithmetic. You have 3 minutes to respond each, to have more time for Q&A afterwards. And we are going to look for online comments in the chat, as well as those from the floor here. We want to collect as many questions and comments possible. So the rules are laid down, they're simple, and I'd like to start with Petro, our guru of the VET. Petro, please give us 3 positive changes that have happened in the VET system in your region, maybe in the whole of the country later on. Actually, the first thing that we managed, but I'd first like to start by analyzing the vocational education system and the preliminary training system. I would also like to mention the communication strategy that we really did not have not described, but we did design it, and it became a strong pillar for further VT development. We also were able to modernize that in the regions that were taken as pilots, and we made a wide front line for that. We expanded the number of regions to 21, then 2 of them had to be excluded, so we have stayed with 19 of them. Nice geography, and now we can speak about the VET system in the whole country. Thank you. Short, on time, and very comprehensive. Ludmila, same question to you. I'd like to focus on the last years, also the time of aggression. The positive thing is that we've been able to prove it to ourselves, to everyone, that educators are a very strong team and really a strong cohort representing the heart of the industry. About 52% of Mykolaiv Oblast population left after the start of the invasion. Yet still we were able to comply and fulfill almost 80% of the education order. Then we were able to connect to the children remaining in the village of Snihurinka, to have them connected and to let them continue with their education. And in spite of everything, in September we had most of the schools working offline. I think this is a no small achievement. Yeah, thank you. So people are not needing 3 minute slots. They are capable of doing it within 1 minute. I do remember that last year 11 vet schools were destroyed in the Mykolaiv Oblast. Not speaking of Snegorivka. It, by the way, has suffered flooding because of the dam burst. Now, Oleg, some positive things. First three that I come up with. We've introduced a clear-cut system of criteria to evaluate and assess each vet school. Based on that, we're able to come to managerial decisions. Secondly, based on conclusions from the strategy, we were able to launch a promotion system to promote vet schools, and for the third year in a row, we have a growing number of of applicants, and actually we are ranking the first in the country for this number. And the third one is that we enjoy a steady attention to the vets for more than a year. A shocking figure is that the vet system is going to be earmarked with more than 500 million hryvnias this year for development. Yeah, we represent different regions with my colleagues. Ludmila represents the oblast that is still under heavy shelling. They felt the brunt of the war 100%. Lviv Oblast and region, we have mostly been dealing with IDPs. And I'd like to thank every director present here, every vet school, for the way they became engaged since first days of the war. Not a single other industry was able to react that quick. What Oleg Paska mentioned, these investments have been earned by the school managers, by all this stuff. For everyone to see how important the vet domain is, it was often overlooked before, but this war really made it very much prominent. Now, Victoria, you can see the whole of Ukraine. What is your take about changes? What has changed? You are not involved in that system immediately, but you are still working on it. So, dear colleagues, partners, friends, good afternoon. Thanks for the question. Speaking of positive changes in the area of vocational education and training, I first mentioned the support to vet digitalization. We had lots of events aimed at developing digital competencies, particularly for teachers in the system and for students as well. We were engaged in updating websites of vet schools. About 120 of them were updated. About 2,000 vet teachers improved their digital skills and IT literacy. 27 IT rooms were set up at schools to facilitate transition for online format from the COVID time, which became even more urgent and relevant with the advent of the war, enabling continued education of vet students. I would also mention the support to the implementation of competence-based approach. We had lots of courses being designed for vet school managers, for teachers, masters of education, even students. Also, on the topic of rebuilding to have training for various occupations and to master new knowledge. Also, the project was rather involved in procurement of certain equipment like 3D printers, interactive panels, tablets, notebooks, and that really had positive impact on the vets in Ukraine. On a separate note, quite a lot has been done to promote vocational education and training in Ukraine through social media, those popular with young people, also through development of a career development center network. We also provided training for staff members of such centers. And also we had psychological counseling sessions across Oblast. We've got quite positive feedbacks and we intend to continue them in the future. Unfortunately, with the war raging on and in the post-war period, these will be in demand. Thank you. So we are going to applaud everyone who sticks to the allotted time slot. And now it's not a question to you directly, Victoria, but it's rather a question to vet administrators. So guys, you represent pilot regions, pilot oblast, Rivne, Lviv, Mykolaiv, 3 from the 7 that were selected, owing also to Petro. So the question to you. Victoria mentioned a lot of things performed by the project, and thanks her for that. Now, you knew the project design. So what were your expectations of the project? Just to tell if something might have happened but did not, or no. Yeah, actually it was very nice that we did not stick to the design of the project for the whole 4-year period. The project was rather flexible instead, and that allowed for maximal involvement of vet schools across Ukraine. So we had pilots that could be easily rolled out. We joined the Erasmus Plus that we've never dreamed about, and we have some positive trends to make the vet system in Ukraine attractive for investments. Speaking of agents of changes, I think the project did contribute to have these agents of changes, specially trained people with necessary skills, better know how to do career counseling, how to improve that image, how to switch from vocational education and training into vocational training, how to build a learning trajectory and related things. What didn't happen, well, there were clear intention that all four partner countries join their efforts to have fully fledged, internships, and that didn't happen mostly not because they didn't want that, but because we had this pandemic, then it came to war, and that really shifted our priorities. Would be nice to see more digital context. On the other content. On the other hand, but for the pandemic, we wouldn't have it at all probably. But the pandemic did contribute, and it went as a benefit actually. The practical training centers, they initially were received with a lot of skepticism. Now the opinions have changed, and we know that these centers are well able to provide diplomas. So I think soft skills for teachers at vet schools are now new normal. We used to demand hard skills. We wanted tractors and combines and other such heavy equipment, how to do it. But it was in the past. Now it's time to think of soft skills, because it is about human capital development. And in this respect, the project was a huge success, and I agree with Irina that I would still say that this is not the full stop now that we celebrate today, but rather a comma. Because more projects will definitely appear. There will be projects of scale, and probably more people and regions will be involved. Okay, thank you. Important things you mentioned, because they say that changes are possible when there are positive practices and agents of changes inside. And this is what Vera Rybak underscored. And the project did just that. Same question to you, Ludmila.
Дуже важко.
It is not so easy to speak after all my colleagues. What my colleague has mentioned is absolutely right. I would like to speak more about the Mykolaiv region. Of course, it was equipment for agriculture. It was also much support. But on the framework of EU4Skills project, we had the possibility to spend a week in Lviv region and to share our experience and to gain their experience. I think the experience is quite precious, and it is present worthy several millions. For us, it was a jackpot, that opportunity to exchange with our experiences. Ludmila has raised an interesting issue about the horizontal ties, the horizontal links. And back in the Soviet times, we interacted vertically, while now we interact horizontally, and that's interesting. What do you think? I believe that all those horizontal ties are being strengthened by the whole team, and as for the project in general, it has attracted attention of professionals, of many professionals. Why this is important for me? Because we live in the world when everybody competes for somebody's attention, and I would invite you to read Mr. Vakarchuk's article, Memory and the revival of events. And in that very article, he discussed the following phenomena. The more attention you attract to an issue, the more quickly this issue starts to develop itself. Nevertheless, dear colleagues, we have a lot of problems which we have to solve, and now I'm going to ask a question about the challenges. You are a very specific region which experienced a lot of losses. What challenges do you see for you? For Mykolaievshchina, you all know the first challenge is to restore and rebuild the damaged educational institutions. The next challenge is lack of professionals, professional teachers, because we compete with the industry. Any professional, skilled instructor, teacher can go to the industry sector and earn much more. In Mykolaiv region, also the capital investment and capital spending is a problem because we are close to the front line. And another big challenge is that we have 3,200 enterprises in the region which are either damaged or ruined, and this decreases demand for the labor force, of course, and for professionals. Working professionals. But nevertheless, we attracted, as you correctly said, we attracted attention to the vocational training, but the challenges they exist. And of course, later I will mention the dual education and the training centers. They require material financial support from the state because we have to procure new equipment for them. In my opinion, the biggest challenges for vocational training and education are as follows. The challenge number one are professional teachers in VAT system. The second challenge is qualified management. There are a lot of discussions how what are the requirements to academic license, etc. The same is true for VAT sector. And the third challenge for VAT sector, this is the issue which is specific for vocational training for the secondary education is to how to overcome the indifference among students, how to stir up the initiative and ambitions among our graduates about challenges. The biggest challenge I expect to become the post-war recovery of Ukraine, and this will require mobility. I believe that this will require changing the list of the national working professions which are significant for the national level, because at the regional level as of now it is not possible to produce sufficient number of professionals needed in this very region, while in the neighboring regions, in other regions, these workers might be needed for the recovery. And the second is that how to develop a strategy, how to select proper candidates to our vocational training institutions. That is how to select between academic, select students to the academic or research institutions and to vocational training. And the next challenge is the Center of Excellence for VAT. We have to create just one to allow all others VAT centers to understand what the proper centers of excellence should be. It should be well equipped, it should be multifunctional, it should be well equipped with the best personnel, and we should pay sufficiently to the teachers in such training centers, not less than 30,000 hryvnia. Today, we keep saying that 43% of students from secondary schools, they choose vocational training for the career. But as a region, we should clearly understand what is attractive for us in terms of skills and demand from labor market. When investors come to us and say, see, we need such skills and we should be able to produce stuff. And here the legislative framework is very important. We should allow the regions to shift very quickly based on the appropriate legislation. Thank you. You raised the issue about the centers of excellence, and you mentioned positive models for VAT. Somewhere, I think we have such centers of excellence. I know at least one, and perhaps you also know such centers. As far as I know, the program for the Lviv region VAT sector development is already approved, and in that program, even some amounts of money were mentioned. I recollect that some years ago, the first subvention was allocated. It was something around 50 million, while now this is an amount which is allocated just for one region, for Lviv region. This year, we allocated up to 10 million for the vocational training. But when we brought together all the elements of this system, we realized that we needed 40 million more. And eventually, when we produced the final plan, we were allocated another 13 million. Thus, we had we were promised to get 53 million hryvnia for the development of additional VAT centers in the region. But all that bulk of money, that is not just a figure, but this was based on a very well developed plan, action plan, which managed to convince a huge number of people about the importance of VAT sector. And of course, principals of our VAT institutions, they contribute much, and the monitoring and supervision system, it is designed not for punishment, it is designed for better support. From September 1st, we will start our new approach, and I believe that by December we'll be able to present the automated system for VAT sector in Lviv region management. We do not have anything similar to Lviv region. Of course, the situation in different regions, it's different, and we cannot, in Mykolaiv, we cannot dream about the possibilities of the Lviv region, but nevertheless, our plans are ambitious, and we found courage to develop our own strategy, and all our VAT institutions had developed their strategies, and we are now finalizing those strategies by 2025. I fully agree with Petro when he says that skills are currency, and in this context, we realize that only 10% out of IDPs from Mykolaiv region had come back. But this again suggests that micro skills and micro qualifications should be our primarily concern. This is similar to the situation with bomb shelters. We have to equip them without any money, actually, to invent how to do this. Sometimes we hear that some innovations, they could not or should not be implemented in the area of VAT. They are designed purely for the secondary education, and in such situations we feel ourselves discouraged. And the next aspect is psychological support to our students. For the first time, we are doing this month the exchange program. This summer we're sending our students to Gdansk to the Marine Technical School, which is very professional and very demanding from the technical point of view. And what I think is needed to approve regulation which students could be taught in special groups, not inclusive groups. I mean here students with special needs. Yes, I agree with you. The issue of inclusion is quite complicated issue. Quite often, students with special needs, they get medical certificate that they are able, with some functional students with some functional limitations, they get a medical certificate that they are able to master some profession, but actually they are unable to do that. And in Lviv region, now we have issues with also with the taxation system when the payroll tax is deducted in the region, is left in the region, and then when the military who pay this payroll tax, they come back to the region, then we are able to satisfy their needs in training. Speaking about military, you know that the Western Command has issues with the military. When servicemen come back to their local communities, money for retraining is needed. The issue with the reverse loans appears when you get payroll tax from the military who serve in the army, who make big contribution to the tax revenues in your region. That's good, but when they will come back, you will have the issues with getting the same tax revenues. The next way to resolve this is regular meetings with businesses in Rivne region, and they make us familiar about their problems. We try to make these businesses lawful, to legalize them, to get better tax payments, tax revenues, and we're developing several clusters: agricultural cluster, forestry cluster, etc. What does it mean, agricultural cluster? This is not just about growing up agricultural products, but also to certify them, to market them. It is not that easy, keeping in mind that each country strives for the higher competitiveness of the agricultural producers. looking at raising knowledge about knowledge among businesses is very important. And we should keep in mind that businesses should not be only big businesses. There should be small and medium-sized businesses, because in case of failure of a big business, you will have a big problem in your region. That's why you need diversified businesses, that is, smaller and medium-sized businesses. Without such an approach, when you try to support and develop such SMEs, I'm against the classification of professions which exists now. We have to bring our national framework of professions in line with the European one. In this case, we'll be able to organize the process properly. In this case, we'll have a future. Thank you.
You mentioned it that our students have to be trained how to set up startups, how to set up companies, how to become managers of their own business. Victoria, we have not forgotten about you, and we are glad to have you with us. From your experience in the project, with your knowledge of the VET system, what would you advise to our regional managers? Which areas to focus to develop vocational education and training in Ukraine? Anything dear to your heart? Yeah, thank you. Some primary thoughts about really getting vet schools closer to employers. Even before the war and throughout the war, we've seen quite dynamic changes on the labor market, and the occupations of relevance before the war, they may lose its relevance this time. And the surveys carried out among employers to know their needs they still not always help to identify the real needs. So from that, we need just to make them both closer. Also with the view of businesses who had to relocate to the western Ukraine. In my view, this is quite an important topic not to be forgotten or overlooked. Better ties with employers and relocated businesses. It is also very important and relevant to have short-term courses also for adults, for IDPs, because already now and after the war, employers will need nice, skilled workforce. Let us not forget about a bigger group of people who won't be able to continue working with their own with their occupations, pre-war occupations, and they will have to look for new skills. And because of that, short-term courses will be very important. Some of the outputs of the project, like the knowledge, the instruments design, it would be nice to see them implemented and practically used. Particularly like competence-based assessment and related topics, these could work. These are the three things that I'd like to outline. Thank you so much. Applause to Victoria. I don't quite see Volodymyr. Are there any questions from online audience? We do remember, we are mindful of those online, and if there are any questions, so obviously no questions. Okay. Maybe we have questions or comments from the floor, and we see some first hand from Vera. Do you have a general or specific question? Okay, let them all sweat over it. Sorry, here's the mic. I have to move more. Thank you Thank you for this really quite interesting panel discussion. Compliments to Petro. The national, the regional level are well perceived, and the balance is perceived too. I have the following question. I hope you remember when we, some years ago, well, everyone wanted an audit, and we did it as well. We wanted to optimize the VET system right after the audit. Then the time passed, and when relevant decision was made, the situation changed. So, still, what is your view of the recovery? This particularly refers to Ludmila. What do you think of recovery of ruined vet schools? Do you think that every ruined vet school has to be restored? I don't understand the human aspect of it, but still, do you think it's necessary to restore every vet school, or some better consideration should be given? Yes, I mean vet school, vocational education and training facility. I am not talking about secondary schools or things like that. So primarily my question goes to Ludmila and maybe to a lesser extent to others. This concerns actually optimizing. And I have my second question to Petro. You're the trendsetter. Dear Petro, you have been recognized as one. Okay, so when talking about clusters, is it about something like smart specialization? Because I think you were the pilot, a pilot oblast to design relevant strategy. It would be nice in terms of experience exchange to hear on that from you. And also in the view of the upcoming Skills for Recovery project, we'd like to hear some input from you. So some short answers are due, dear panelists, because we want to cater for more questions. Okay, regarding optimization, we started the process in Mykolaiv Oblast back in 2020. We had a work group, me among the members, and we worked with among the colleagues on that. Out of 31 vet school, we decided to stay with 22. And statistically, we still have like 31, but de facto, we have 22. We continued with it. Last year, we had 2 more institutions reorganized, and we continue with it this year. So speaking of that institution that have been ruined or damaged, we have one school, still hanged. It also involves logistical considerations, so we're considering that. At the moment, we are to decide whether we are going to have this vet school, whether it is feasible to keep it, to recover it. The rest of remaining vet schools, even if damaged, they will be subject to recovery and reconstruction. Yes, money will be needed, lots of it, but again, we nevertheless continue with our optimization process. So just one vet school is with a question mark. Okay, thank you. And before Petro answers, considering the oblast level, I think there is not a single institution in Mykolaiv Oblast Lviv Oblast. We don't have any vet school with less than 300 students. So we have many more vet schools in Lviv Oblast. So it's a complex question for the oblast. But, well, going back to clusters. Yeah, we understood it early on that without smart specialization, without having a digital and technological advanced, we won't have enough financial resources ever in oblast. And we took that way, and we went beyond the oblast, actually. The MTAC company, they provide clothes even for the president, and we acquainted them with Vika Delivska, the material, the cloth maker. So that way the company really created an opportunity to avoid imports, cheap imports from China. They can do everything on site, locally. We used to have that institutional standoff between professional, vocational education and training and the state employment service. And the end of it, the government lost. Every counterpart wanted to buy equipment, financial resources, and well, it appears that we are better at teaching, and employment service are better at searching for people. So we need to rethink the whole structure. This leads to a completely different technological level for the whole of the oblast. So it is not feasible to have just one business that will be doing just everything. It won't be feasible. But you can have a combination of companies specializing in their own process. So, in terms of, say, wood processing, we have a subcontract or contract on pallet manufacturing, which is in great demand, and that can well participate because they can do this part of job and they can be earning, they will be relevant. This is a positive image. And if we start lifelong learning, again, it will be necessary to rethink how to better engage that system, because just private-public partnership is not enough. We need to join forces. The cost of education in a vet school must be high enough if you want to have decent quality. And for that purpose, we don't need 10 vet schools with 300 students each. We need one big with 3,000 of them. And I see we have a question. Hi, I have a question to Victoria. You mentioned the assessment system. What is your take of the current progress assessment system with a score of 12 as an archaic one? And would you be comfortable with having a window installer in your house with marks corresponding to, say, level 6, 7, 5 maybe? Thank you for the question. I think that assessment should be competence-based when we talk about that. Theory is nice, but there should be some confirmation, practical confirmation of one's skills and knowledge. And I would really focus on that. No Yuri Balanyuk here, maybe Yuri Rashkevich is willing to say something. If yes, just grab the mic. Because you are from the NQA. Actually, Petro mentioned NQF a couple of times. I'm not sure if you noticed it, but I'm quite sensitive to the topic. So Pavlo and Petro, they talk about professional training. And ladies would rather say that vocational education and training. So my question is, professional and vocational education and training, are they synonymous or not? And another question from here, there's an NQF with different training levels, so professional or vocational education and training. Which levels are there, how they correspond, how we can measure against Europe and the world? Okay, Petro, you probably are the one to start with. We are talking about professional education. This is how I'd like this to be. And I think the levels like 3, 4, 5, these are mostly about our internal ones, and it's for each that school to decide which level they're going to major in. Don't think everyone has to prepare different levels. Some might be able to only train level 3, others maybe level 3 or 4, or 4 or 5. My idea is that we do not have to let students sit there until the teachers have their number of hours and get their salaries. In terms of tertiary education or higher professional education, I think the most important thing is that we need to have uniform type of institution, like maybe vocational college. This will help us articulating it before the public. So we need to tell people that yes, we have professional college for this occupation or these occupations. I hope to be able to live long enough to see it coming. Okay, any more questions? Just one by one, right? During the break. So just one question from each one. Only European Commission representatives are entitled to have two. Yeah, I really liked what Petro mentioned. Sorry that we didn't have it or haven't been having it yet. But again, the devil is in the detail. How we are to resolve the problem. When for level 3 and 4 we teach occupations, then we have specialty for level 5. How we could integrate it within one education system. I wouldn't do that legislatively via a piece of legislation. I suggest that there is an opportunity mentioned in the law, and then bylaws have to specify it. I see MPs, the active ones. Anything to comment from you? No. Okay, we are running out of time, so if there are more questions, please. If no more questions, let us wrap up the panel discussion, and we will start by our round of applause to our beautiful panelists with the enthralling speeches. We see that the vet system is confidently being kept by an incompetent hands. And regarding you, Vera, we do believe that everything will continue that. And from our talk with Sergei Babak, we heard that the victory will come when we are able to return all our children back into Ukraine. And really, this is the very important topic. We need to have our people come back, to have them returned. And I see that the discussion has led to quite a lot of topics to be pondered about by our MPs. It would be nice to see at least 230 votes for that, in favor of it. Then there was a mention that this urban versus rural fragmentation should be avoided in VET. Also on different levels, Ryan level, Oblast level, and the status of master of education, of professional education, has to be somehow enshrined in law. There should be some measures, to correlate one's experience and capacity to make them earn money decently because they're entitled to. I think given that we have Vera Shumik with us, you make for a strong team that definitely will live long enough to see those changes happen. Thanks, everyone.
Дякую вам дуже. Шановні учасники, я прошу вас організація та її
I invite you to start our third session, Digitalization and its role in development of VET. Dear participants, I'm happy to welcome you to our session number 3. Let us start.
Отже, почнемо з організації.
Let us start with some organizational issues. I am moderating our today's session. My name is Anna Sokhotska, and I would like to start with some organizational moments. We will have two parts in our session. The first part will be devoted to the innovative solutions, and the second part will be dedicated to the future plans. So let us start with digitalization per se, how it penetrates into the sectors of education, and we'll look at digitalization from administrative point of view, from methodological, and from practical implementation point of view. And keeping that in mind, I would like to invite our panelists. So our panelists, Mr. Oleksiy Sitnik, Senior Project Manager from the Ministry of Education and Science, reform support team. And he also belongs to the Directorate of VET. Then we have Mr. Andrei Litvinchuk, who's First Deputy Director of the State Scientific Establishment Institute of Education Analytics, together with Garna. They work on the joint project. Garna is under the auspice of the Ministry of Education of Estonia. Then we have Ms. Natalia Rybak. Natalia is Deputy Director, the Educational and Methodological Center of VET in Lviv region. Natalia had developed 11 interactive training courses for national online platform. Then we have Dasha Zhagina, national expert from EDUFI. Darina, Omnia, to which Darina belongs, is under the auspice of Finland Ministry of Education, and she worked on the Finnish component of our project. And then we have Hanna Tkachuk, teacher from Vinnytsia Interregional High VET School, which is among first 100 of the best VET institutions in Ukraine, and their specialization is digital training. As I have already mentioned, digitalization had become integral part of education, and due to our project EU4Skills Partners, we introduced many interesting interactive training courses. Some 2 weeks ago in Lviv, we had a conference about introduction of VAT, where Alexei described new digital instruments for VAT. How do you think, what are the most efficient, the most useful decisions made by the ministry in the area of digitalization? I will thank you for this question. I would like to start with our biggest achievements. I'm a bit nervous today, and the only comforting factor for me is that I see many familiar faces today in the room. And when you are at a big stage, and this event is streamed, I always start with birthday congratulations, and I'm happy to congratulate Ivan Pikus, who is ahead of the VAT department in Lviv Regional Administration. My best wishes to Ivan for his support, who supports digitalization of VAT in the Lviv region. And now I will start my intervention. I think the 3 best projects which I would like to mention in the context of digitalization. From July 1st, our school graduates will get their school certificates, and we'll start thinking about further education. And at this stage, this year, we provided them with the possibility to submit their certificates via electronic system. My Estonian colleagues like Amy's project, Andrei will describe more this very Estonian component of our project. And the third is vocational training online platform. At the very beginning, we had only 29 vocational training courses on this platform, but we had been working, and today we have much more. We even had dedicated the whole position to the materials to be posted on this platform. As of today, we have 80 courses on this platform. So between December, when we started with 39, and now we have more than 80, and by the end of this year we'll have around 100. It looks like it's not enough against the need of 300 different professions, but actually 100 is too big. So my answer is the electronic submission of entry documents, EMIS, and online platform for courses. What opportunities does digitalization provide for the management and administration of the VAT system? This is my second question. For VAT distance learning on VAT is quite useful for those who escaped abroad, and of course our students are unable to get the same education abroad free of charge, while our platform allows access to state-of-the-art training materials free of charge. EMIS. EMIS is a set of analytical information for the evidence-based management that is based on the proper information, proper quality information. Yesterday, discussing the further development of this project, we discussed different types of dashboards for the ministries, for educational, regional education departments, etc. And so EMIS is at the managerial level, and electronic entry to VAT educational institutions is important because it shows the whole picture to applicants and allows to choose properly what they want. And this allows us to offer as fully as possible at all levels. Alexei several times mentioned about EMIS. Could you describe how the EMIS system was developed step by step and how it had been implemented? Did you had any difficulties, any risks, especially related to the personal data protection? I am Andrei Litvinchuk, First Deputy Director of the State Scientific Establishment Institute of Education Analytics. We collect the administrative reports and analyze them and prepare some conclusions for the evidence-based management. When we discuss VAT, we find out that digitalization in VAT started from higher education, then in primary education, and eventually it reached the VAT sector. And this resulted in emergence of the full comprehensive database Then we have a historic series of reports regularly submitted by educational institutions. Some indicators in those reports, some items in them, they are a bit obsolete, which could not be used for the digitalized processing, so to say. So the task was to combine these two needs. To bring that all together into EMIS system, to collect the data from narrative reports, aggregate them at the national level, and bring together data about students and about those who render educational services. When we come to the point of personal data, to anything which comes into the state data system, and especially in conditions of martial law, we get huge multiplied risks, and we understand that we can be subject to the cyber crime and cyber criminals from our enemies. But the more aggressive our enemies are, the stronger we become in result of counteraction. And now we have built up a multi-layer protection system, which has the same elements which exist at the national level. And based on the comprehensive system for information protection. Thus, we are ready to mitigate the biggest risks. The team which worked on the project implementation united experts from the ministry, from structural units of the ministry, also Estonian party, and I like very much what Alexei did and mentioned his friend. I would like to use this opportunity to thank you, Harna, to our Estonian colleagues, Aili, Kai, Marcus, Raul, Krab Group, and Tatiana, Nadia, and Sergey. This big team had been working on the system to prevent that the system works in vacuum without any connection to the surrounding environment. This team worked on the sustainable product in order to make the system as homogeneous as possible, to make the system modular. This is ICOM system and complies with DSO 2.0. These are systems of educational management which are already implemented into practice. Finalizing my intervention, I would like to refer to those cyber threats and even technical obstacles when you try to reach the interoperational communication between different resources. Quite often you face a lot of difficulties. The compatibility of protocols, this is always the issue. And we had to overcome a lot of problems. So we had done all that. Now let us approach to the regional level, come down from the national one to the regional level. Natalia, perhaps you will start with welcoming your colleagues in Lviv region. And now my question to you, what were successful solutions in the area of digitalization from educational point of view? Think today we're discussing powerful digitalization tools. And I recollect that as of 2019-2020, up to 50% of our pedagogical staff, they did not have even basic skills in the area of digitalization, how to create your email account, how to work with the iCloud, and that was a problem. There were some employees who were unable to work in the digital environment, while the students whom these teachers teach, they are much more familiar with digital technologies. So first, we had to convince such people that they need to be digitally numerical, so to say, to know the digital literacy, and this took much effort to make this breakthrough to upper levels. I'm very grateful to our partners from EU4Skills that they allowed us to reach these levels and to organize courses for creating media content and to show people what could be done and how this is useful. Thus, our training staff now is able to create video content of training materials, to create YouTube channels, and by the way, we have now such a fact that educational content produced by master in hairdressers, vocational training is very much demanded on YouTube. Having mastered production of visual VT materials, we felt we were ready to produce broader VT courses. And when you recalled me and asked the question, are you ready to start this? We started to work on the content. Our plans were rather ambitious, and although we thought we were fully prepared, but very soon we found out that creating digitalized VT content is much more different from just taking classes and teaching students in a classroom. Online training course is very much different from offline class. There should be other materials. It should be adapted. It should be done quickly and in different way. So we had to learn how to make good quality pictures, short videos, how to develop tests. And having done first steps, we offered broader materials for a broader audience. That is not just for the students, but also for teachers or even for general public. For example, those people, those general public who are interested in HoReCa sector, they can go to our training courses and review that. The content is organized in a way that you may follow up success of the student. And I'm very grateful to the whole team and support of the EU4Skills. Thank you, Natalia.
Yeah, that was really thorough work on online content development, and more than 70 online courses have been already uploaded to the platform. Yeah, Alexei, please. Just a couple of remarks. Natalia started by saying something in, something low key, like they didn't know how to register mail address and so on. I don't know, but when I started communicating with you, you already knew everything. And as Pablo mentioned, well, I was more attentive to the hardware component, but again, software component was quite a big chunk. And now seeing how people are growing, we intend to subject them to additional tests to identify potential gaps. And we are going to do it in a customized way, individualized, to specifically address individual needs. Regarding that online, I strongly support that. Could you share the browser screen? Just write profosvita.online. Yeah, that's a nice opportunity to promote our platform. The platform that we designed within the scope of EU4Skills, the one that can be used not just by the seekers of occupational training, but also by IDPs, teachers, other stakeholders. I cannot see anything on screen yet, but maybe it will appear later on. If we could go down the page a bit for people just to see the number of occupations occupational categories, and you go there just to find online courses. You can take this training, learning yourself at your convenience. You can use it to deliver lectures for skills upgrade. You can actually make your own institution more attractive through and with it. It just takes a registration, either as a teacher or as a learner. And the remaining 30 seconds to go. The training courses mentioned by Natalia, by Yuri Zuban in the scope of EU4Skills Programme, they are best in quality. And there are simulators there, there are built-in applications with augmented reality ones, and you take a part of this training course, then you can scan a QR code on your phone to do the test. And the bad news for you is that we've started designing new set of training courses using services from another subcontractor, and I'm not going to disclose the name, but the result will be even better. So we are growing, and you will have to grow with us. Thank you, Alexei. Now the mic goes over to Ashi. She will represent our Finnish colleagues and their outputs. So, dear Tashi, what are the most promising and better results in the area of digitizing vocational education and training? Yeah, good afternoon. Just to tell you more about what we've done in the scope of TOV Consortium. We designed a set of courses called Rebuilding Ukraine, and we have a training program for vet school managers, and we have an online program for teachers. Just to tell you about the objective we had when designing these courses, we intended to ensure support the development of professional competences in the vet system for the sake of recovery of Ukraine. As regards trainings for administrators and teachers, it was done to promote vet reform and to really assist administrators and teachers to acquire new skills and competences. We had more than 19,000 participants registered for training, and more than 12,500 certificates were issued to those who passed either modules or training course. We had they had to sit a test after that to receive a certificate. And these training programs, courses, and modules, some of them were more popular than others. The top 5 are first aid assistance, quite relevant now then how to care after children in crisis situation and contributing to the family well-being. Another topical topic about working on a construction site, and the manager training program. Okay, thank you, Dasha. Dear Hanna, we have not forgotten about you. So pedagogically speaking, what are the most efficient solutions in the area of digitalization? Some of them are probably implemented, or you may be intending to implement them. I do know that as a teacher yourself, you can provide us with a detailed answer. Good afternoon. I represent a rather specific and special vet school because we train we train specialists for IT sector actually. We have been implemented ICT for quite some time, even before the project. And before that, even we had sufficient equipment, but you don't understand that it tends to become obsolete with time, technically, morally, if you will. And thanks to the program, well, actually, what we would need is better support with technical equipment. I mean, digital equipment, not just PCs, but there is a variety of equipment that could be viably used. And we got quite a lot of it in the scope of the project. We participated in a number of programs. We have some achievements to be proud of, and for almost 4 years, our vet school has substantially upgraded its digital equipment fleet. As we are talking about digitalization of vet institutions, I would put the priority on provision of proper technical equipment, hardware. Then it is necessary to improve software skills and IT literacy among the teaching staff. And we had a range of training courses that we attended within the project and under the aegis of other projects. Many courses are aimed at improving IT skills, ability to use and design digital content, working with videos, and so on. And it would be nice to have some training courses, like Alexei mentioned the need of individualized work with vet schools, and given the type of equipment we have, like video cameras and 3D printers and so on, we have never been trained in properly using them, and we've been using them by trial and error, and probably this is not the most efficient way of doing it. So it would be nice to have some training in how to use this most modern equipment. And thirdly, the design and development of this national professional education platform became a strong signal for us, a strong assistance, ensuring better involvement of our teaching staff in the digitized teaching. People are now better used to using ICT, and we would really like to see this platform develop even faster. We like it so much. We don't understand that it takes time to design content, and some people have to be behind it. But still, we very much entertain the idea of getting as more courses as possible. We still harbor huge hopes with the platform. This free of charge access to the wealth of materials for teaching staff, for students, really improves the quality of training and education. Yeah, thank you, Hanna. You even glimpsed into the future, and that made a nice transition into our next discussion, which will be about next digitalization steps and various viewpoints on these. And I would rather give the mic to Alexei to hear the administrative aspects of furthering digitalization. in the area of management and administration. Please. So let us still think not about administrative aspects, but in response to requests from colleagues, I've heard recent comments about the need to have as many materials as possible already now. How to deal with it, I'm being promising my colleagues for a good half year about media labs to be arranged in individual regions to allow teachers to work independently on content of their own. And yesterday I got confirmation that a project on that is going to be launched. So, dear colleagues, we are to make educational content together. This is what concerns the platform development. As regards digitalization in the administrative area, yes. Andrei can have more on MS. I'm trying to think loudly. Let us have it like this. The introduction has been practically fully implemented. We are going to have a large webinar tomorrow at 10. All the administrators from vet schools and members of the selection committees at vet schools are going to have a big webinar on electronic enrollment into vet schools together with Harno. We will hear how to work with modules and so on. We already have a big package of measures earmarked for the coming year. One of the biggest steps will concern changes to the entry procedure. Several scenarios will be worked to see the process being controlled, manageable for everyone, to see how many applications arrived and what occupations are in greatest demand and so on. And now about the next step of MS development, and I think Andrei can have more on that. Yeah, could you please tell us more about next stages of MS development, how it will be implemented at the regional level, and some of the most burning questions, the one on financing, because the MS project was supported by EU4Skills, and question is how it is going to be funded later on. Okay, with your permission, I will start with wider description and then go all the way down to the specific question. First of all, as regards digitalization of vet management, there are certain trends which seem to be in harmony with something seen around the world. We have a digitalization team who works with the Ministry for Digital Transformation on that, and we see more tools being introduced in terms of business intelligence to enable the processing of big data series. Particularly for the sake of individuals not really well versed with large sample-based modeling. So there will be a whole set of multipliers, indicators, and so on, structured around certain digitalization parameters, and these will be accessible via browser as data and GIS-based shows It will be helpful for territories that are under active hostilities or have seen them lately. There will be a relation to administrative territorial units. All these things are being actively implemented, piloted, in some cases even already used. Several speakers before me noted it, that unfortunately we must acknowledge that, well, the war opened certain opportunities for us that we have never had before, and it's very important to make good use of such opportunities, not to lose. Now we have a powerful set of tools provided by our partners online, and this opens corridors and avenues to use the products for us. It is not just about universally known things like the ones on Google, Microsoft. Potentially we may see more serious things like using the AI or experimental ones. And I think now the government's analytics, public analytics, is even more capable than it used to be. There are certain specific aspects related to, say, confidentiality of data. Not every part of information can be presented in freely accessible format, and disaggregated massive data series is a must, and everyone understands this. The ministry has been long using it for real situations. Pavlo, who really returned the education subvention with proper breakdown of money flows from top to the bottom, with logistical model based on small data. Every time I remember some complex distribution algorithm, I happen to think about Pavlo. I remember how we had to split Lego sets. We had to decide on that, and it would not be real or possible with old existing tools. Only small, detailed data provided opportunity of doing it. In wartime conditions, it is about double entering information about the students when they move between schools. So all those things are now possible thanks to digitalization and analytics. The way forward in terms of further development of these tools includes interoperability with other public information management systems, and because many times we see that information is being collected by different institutions, and this is the same type of information, which means a huge waste of resources. Thanks to this interoperability, we can improve the cleanliness of data. We can have validations, inspections. So the further we go, the more we received. And the public interaction bus, which is called Trembita, it connects every part of government information management system, and we already see some early promising contact. Speaking of automation of the education management process, in that the implementation algorithm is completely clear. There will be training of trainers, there will be really mildly crafted and mildly implemented bits with good understanding that something added is about additional information, not a replacement of the old information. So if a bit of information is being introduced in the system, it won't be copied to make another part of it. It will be just replaced. And data collection will be done not just using, Excel spreadsheets in a cascaded way, but it is about setting up a joint national information management system. And these functions will only further develop. As regards support to future operations, development, system modernization, as the system by its concept that was promptly approved by the ministry. So this becomes a module to the already existing and already implemented ICON system. And this will make it organically fill into the programs and budget schedules from the government. There is no need to invent something drastically new. I think it would be natural to integrate it into available corridors and to plan everything ahead. Like in a classical example, when the National Digitalization Programme is being considered. So I think all those things are quite resilient, and software transfers were carried out in a proper way, no risks involved in respect of incomplete takeover of ownership rights. Everything was transferred fully on a as-is basis. And so with a general understanding of the hardware basis of the program, we already develop our understanding how to finalize and improve it.
Let us stick with our time limit. Thank you, Andrei. Thank you for complete and full intervention. Several times you had mentioned the artificial intelligence. I think we can discuss it from pedagogical point of view. Dasha, what can you tell us as a representative of the Finnish component? What new digitalized components in education could you mention? What artificial intelligence, augmented reality may add to the educational development. I believe that the trends in education, they improve all the time. Artificial intelligence, augmented reality, supplemented reality, and metaverse. I would like to mention the following thing as simulations. Simulations could be used in education. They are immersive, they are economically efficient, they are impressive, and they do not when you train students on the simulator, this decreases risks. You have unlimited number of attempts when students are in 3D spectacles, then they can get immediate feedback from the teacher, learn and how to correct their mistakes. This is also rather cheap option. You can make training sustainable, economically viable, and now students in some specialities cannot get access to critical infrastructure, and training on simulators allow them to get this. From the metaverse point of view, has the potential to transform distance learning, to bring teachers and students together, and to improve vocational training and offer lifelong education. Application of metaverse may improve the educational results. The possibility to gain, to retain skills, to strengthen motivation, and in general, this technology allows to learn from teachers and institutions to which you have no physical access. But about the threats, except for the Terminator scenario, we observe how with ChatGPT use, students quite often abuse it, and sometimes you do not understand whether this or that work is done by a student or by ChatGPT. Also, there is uneven access to the artificial intelligence, and this another big problem is violation of privacy. When you use artificial intelligence, the personal data of students could be collected by artificial intelligence, and this could be done without the permission. So we can come to conclusion that this training in the meta or virtual training, it has its strengths and weaknesses, and they should be kept in mind. Thank you, Dasha. We try to speed up and to finalize our discussion on time. I would like to ask Hanna, from a practical point of view, as a teacher, what should be the next third steps for introducing digitalization into training process? So first, we would like to have an approved concept for digitalization of education, which remains in the pipeline of the ministry for 2-3 years now. We need to have a clear vector for our development. We have to understand how to resolve the problems which may exist in this area. The second, on the framework of this project, we have learned much experience from our foreign colleagues. We would like to introduce this experience into Ukrainian practice now, and to gain our own Ukrainian experience. I had a chance to visit Finland, and we were very much impressed with this VT system development in Finland. We became very much inspired by it, and we would like to start doing that. And the third big step, it is better to step back from hard copy resources to the electronic resources. For example, there are possibilities for electronic class registers, individual electronic entries, etc. Thank you, Hannah. And my question now is to Natalia. From a methodological point of view, do you see 3 further steps for implementation of digitalization at the regional level? At this panel, we have not mentioned such a thing as training of people with special needs, simulation, augmented reality. All these things could be very helpful when adapting people with special needs to the with reality. And our digitalization had reached a degree when we need to be taught carefully how to protect ourselves in the digital space. In this context, we may recollect COVID, which started with just one person and resulted a huge pandemic for the entire globe. And we should prevent a similar situation in the digital space. And the third, digital space is a comprehensive system, circulation of information, and content analysis of education, and assessment of the achievements and successes. In order to understand what's going on, what should be corrected, what should be brought and made more even, etc. Thank you, Natalia. And I would like to ask Artem, who follows our chat in Zoom, and whether we have any questions from the audience. We do not have written questions in our stream. What does this indicate? Whether everything was clear or nothing was clear? Oh, okay, the cake has arrived, and let us sum up our discussion. We reviewed our topic from different points of view. We discussed it from administrative and from managerial angles, and discussed the individual electronic entries, AMIS, electronic platforms. We also mentioned the quality educational content, exchange of experience with our foreign partners. We mentioned artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, which could be used in the educational process. I'm very grateful for your attention, dear guests. I'm grateful to our online audience. With this, we are finalizing our online discussion. Alexei, will you please wrap up? First of all, I would like to thank you to all the methodological centers and training centers. Your contribution was huge. You are very responsive. All the departments are very responsive. I have many projects which are in my pipeline simultaneously. Quite often we are very pressed with time, so I am very grateful, and I promise that the equipment for virtual training, virtual spectacles will arrive this year. And I ask you not to be afraid with with the digital training. Thank you. And I'm happy to invite you to our lounge zone where all the offline event participants will be treated with the cake, And while you're going to a cake, I would like to respond to some topics raised today about the personal data in state systems like educational systems. We process individual data based on a very special legislation about protection of personal data. And based on that piece of legislation, and Ministry of Education should not even get consent from the citizens. And the second, as for the electronic documentation circulation, digital documentation has no alternatives, and we will collect all the documents in electronic form, 100%. The only that we have to do, we should have 100% guarantee that all the information will be transferred 100% without any losses. Thank you. Those who are interested in the topic we'll have a chance for networking during our festive treatment with a cake. Now, dear participants, I invite you to informal networking. Thank you for your attention. All the best.